A tiger enters the hospital, and this nurse bursts into tears when she discovers the reason the rain pounded mercilessly against the windows of St. John's Memorial Hospital in Houston. Thunder rumbled overhead, shaking the very foundations of the building. Inside, the fluorescent lights flickered momentarily, causing a collective intake of breath from the night staff. Emily Bennett, a seasoned nurse with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, glanced up from her paperwork at the nurse's station. She'd seen her fair share of stormy nights in her 15 years at St. John's, but something about this one felt different. Dr. Jonathan Harris, the hospital's resident veterinarian, approached the station, his brow furrowed in concentration.
"Quite a storm we're having,"
he remarked, his British accent a stark contrast to the Midwestern drawl that dominated the hospital corridors. If you're enjoying this content, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. Let's keep going. Emily nodded, offering him a tired smile.
Makes you wonder what else this night has in store for us.
Little did they know her words would prove prophetic. As the clock struck midnight, the automatic doors at the hospital's entrance slid open with a hiss. A gust of wind and rain swept in, along with something entirely unexpected. Heavy padded footsteps echoed through the lobby, followed by a low, rumbling growl that sent chills down the spines of everyone within earshot. Emily's eyes widened in disbelief as she saw the source of the commotion. A massive tiger, its golden mane darkened by rain, stood in the middle of the lobby. Panic erupted instantly. Patients screamed, visitors scrambled for cover, and staff members rushed to secure their wards. But Emily remained rooted to the spot, her gaze locked with the tiger's intelligent eyes. There was something about this creature that didn't fit. It wasn't behaving like a wild animal on a rampage. Instead, it seemed purposeful. As chaos swirled around them, Emily noticed something clutched gently in the tiger's powerful jaws, a small bundle wrapped in what looked like a tattered blanket. The tiger's eyes never left Emily's as it took a tentative step forward. In that moment, Emily made a decision that would change her life forever. She stepped out from behind the nurse's station, ignoring the frantic warnings of her colleagues.
"Emily, what are you doing?"
Dr. Harris hissed, his face pale with fear. But Emily was beyond hearing. She approached the tiger slowly, her hands raised in a non-threatening gesture.
It's okay,
She murmured, though whether she was reassuring the tiger or herself, she couldn't say.
I'm here to help.
The tiger regarded her for a long moment, chest heaving with exertion. Then, to Emily's amazement, it gently lowered the bundle to the floor and nudged it towards her with its nose. With trembling hands, Emily reached for the blanket. As she peeled back the damp fabric, she gasped. Nestled within was a creature unlike anything she had ever seen before. It was small, no larger than a house cat, with a mixture of fur and scales covering its body. Its eyes, barely open, were in a startling shade of amber.
Oh my God.
Emily breathed.
What are you?
The tiger let out a soft whimper, as if in response. Then, its task seemingly complete, it collapsed to the floor, utterly spent, as security guards and animal control officers burst into the lobby. Emily cradled the strange creature to her chest. She locked eyes with Dr. Harris, who had cautiously approached.
Jonathan,
She said, her voice barely above a whisper.
I think we're going to need your expertise on this one.
Little did they know this was only the beginning of a night that would challenge everything they thought they knew about the natural world and their place in it. Dr. Jonathan Harris had seen his fair share of unusual cases in his career as a veterinarian, but nothing could have prepared him for the sight before him. In a small examination room, hastily converted into a makeshift animal care unit, Emily Bennett stood cradling the strangest creature he had ever laid eyes on.
What do you make of it, Jonathan?
Emily asked, her voice hushed with a mixture of awe and concern. Harris adjusted his glasses, leaning in for a closer look.
"The creature is unlike anything in my extensive knowledge of animal species. Its body is a patchwork of fur and scales, with limbs that seem to belong to different animals altogether. The head is vaguely feline, but with reptilian features that defy classification. I'm not entirely sure,"
he admitted, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair.
"It appears to be some sort of hybrid, but of what I couldn't say. This goes beyond any known species or even theoretical genetic combinations."
As if sensing it was the topic of discussion, The creature let out a soft chirp, nuzzling closer to Emily's warmth. Despite its alien appearance, there was something undeniably endearing about it.
What about the tiger?
Emily asked, glancing towards the door in the hallway beyond. They could hear the commotion as animal control officers worked to secure the massive feline. Harris shook his head in amazement.
That's another mystery altogether. Its behavior was, well, frankly, it was unprecedented. Tigers don't just walk into hospitals carrying young, and they certainly don't hand them over to humans.
Emily nodded, her brow furrowed in thought.
It's almost as if it knew it needed help, as if it was intelligent.
Before Harris could respond, the door burst open. Daniel Parker, the hospital's head of security, stormed in, his face red with exertion and stress.
What the hell is going on here?
He demanded, his eyes widening as he caught sight of the creature in Emily's arms.
What is that thing?
We're not sure yet,
Emily replied calmly, though her grip on the creature tightened protectively.
but it needs our help.
Daniel ran a hand over his balding head, visibly struggling to process the situation.
This is way above our pay grade. And folks, we need to call in the authorities, get some experts in here. We are the experts.
Harris interjected, a note of steel in his voice.
At least when it comes to animal care. And right now, this little one needs medical attention more than it needs to be poked and prodded by government scientists.
Daniel looked like he wanted to argue, but the determination in both Emily and Harris's faces gave him pause.
Fine,
He grumbled.
but this stays under wraps for now. The last thing we need is media circus on top of everything else.
As if on cue, a commotion erupted in the hallway. The sound of cameras clicking and reporters shouting questions filtered through the closed door.
Speak too soon.
Daniel muttered, rushing out to deal with the developing situation. Left alone once more, Emily and Harris exchanged a worried glance. The creature in Emily's arms stirred, letting out a small whimper.
We need to examine it properly,
Harris said, his professional instincts kicking in.
I see if we can figure out what it needs in terms of care.
Emily nodded, gently placing the creature on the examination table. As she did so, something fell from the folds of the blanket, a small metallic object that clattered to the floor. Harris bent to retrieve it, his eyes widening as he examined the device. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before, a complex piece of technology that seemed far too advanced to be a simple tracking chip or identification tag.
What is it?
Emily asked, peering over his shoulder.
I'm not sure,
Harris replied, turning the device over in his hands.
but I have a feeling it might be the key to unraveling this mystery.
As they stood there, the strange creature on the table and the even stranger device in Harris's hand, both felt the weight of the moment. They were on the precipice of something monumental, a discovery that could change everything they thought they knew about the natural world and somewhere in the hospital. A tiger with intelligent eyes waited as if knowing its part in this drama was far from over. As the night wore on, the storm outside showed no signs of abating. Inside St. John's Memorial Hospital, a different kind of tempest was brewing. Emily Bennett and Dr. Jonathan Harris worked tirelessly in the makeshift examination room, their minds racing to keep up with the cascade of revelations that each passing moment seemed to bring. The creature, which they had taken to calling Fang, for lack of a better name, was a biological marvel. Its vital signs were stable but utterly unique. Its body temperature fluctuated in ways that defied conventional understanding of mammalian or reptilian physiology. Blood samples revealed a cellular structure unlike anything in the medical literature, as if someone took the building blocks of life and rearranged them into something entirely new. Harris mused, peering through a microscope at a sample of Fang's blood.
It's remarkable.
Emily, who had been gently stroking Fang's peculiar fur-scale hybrid coat, looked up with a frown.
But how is that possible? And why? Who would do such a thing?
Before Harris could respond, there was a soft knock at the door. Daniel entered, his face grim.
We've got a situation.
He said without preamble.
The media is going crazy out there. Someone leaked footage of the tiger entering the hospital. It's all over the internet.
Emily and Harris exchanged worried glances. The implications were staggering.
If word got out about Fang,
That's not all.
Daniel continued, his voice lowering.
We've been getting some strange visitors. People asking very specific questions about any unusual animals that might have been brought in tonight. They're not press, and they're definitely not local authorities.
A chill ran down Emily's spine. She thought of the mysterious device they had found still sitting unopened on a nearby tray.
What do they want?
She asked, though she feared she already knew the answer.
They want the tiger,
Daniel replied.
and they seem to know about Fang.
He nodded towards Fang, who had curled up into a ball, seemingly oblivious to the growing tension in the room. Harris's eyes narrowed.
We can't let them take Fang,
He said firmly.
Whatever this creature is, wherever it came from, it needs protection and care, not to be treated like some lab experiment.
Emily nodded in agreement, but Daniel looked skeptical.
I understand how you feel, but this is bigger than us. We're just a hospital, for crying out loud. We're not equipped to deal with whatever this is.
As if in response to Daniel's words, the mysterious device on the tray suddenly came to life. A soft blue light emanated from its surface, and a holographic display flickered into existence above it. All three humans stared in stunned silence as images and text scrolled by too fast to read, but leaving an impression of advanced scientific diagrams and complex genetic codes.
Oh my God,
Harris breathed, leaning in for a closer look.
this is incredible. It's like looking at the blueprint for life itself. We need to keep this quiet, at least until we can understand what we're dealing with. If the wrong people get their hands on this.
Daniel nodded, his earlier skepticism replaced by a look of grim determination.
All right, I'll do what I can to keep those visitors at bay, but you two need to figure this out fast. I don't know how long I can hold them off.
Daniel said before leaving to return to his security duties. Emily and Harris shared a look of mingled excitement and trepidation. They were in uncharted territory, standing on the brink of a discovery that could unravel the very fabric of Emily's past and potentially reshape the future of genetic science. As Fang nuzzled against Emily's hand, now looking for all the world like an ordinary tiger cub, she made a silent vow. Whatever it took, she would uncover the truth behind her brother's disappearance and protect Fang to ensure that whatever power had led to its creation would not fall into the wrong hands. Little did she know, forces were already in motion that would test that vow to its very limits. The pre-dawn hours at St. John's Memorial Hospital were usually quiet, marked only by the soft beeping of machines and the hushed conversations of the night staff. But on this particular morning, an undercurrent of tension thrummed through the corridors like an electric current. Emily Bennett paced the small examination room, her mind racing. The events of the night had left her exhausted, yet sleep was the furthest thing from her mind. Beside her, Dr. Jonathan Harris continued to study the holographic display, muttering to himself as he scribbled notes. Fang, still in its tiger cub form, dozed fitfully on a makeshift bed, occasionally letting out small whimpers that tugged at Emily's heart. She found herself wondering what dreams might plague a creature born of such advanced science. A soft knock at the door jolted them both from their thoughts. Daniel entered, his face drawn with fatigue and worry.
We've got company.
He said without preamble.
A group of men in suits just arrived. They're flashing some kind of government credentials, demanding to see the unusual animal that was brought in.
Emily and Harris exchanged alarmed glances. They had known this moment might come, but facing it was another matter entirely.
What kind of credentials?
Harris asked, his voice low and tense. Daniel shook his head.
I'm not sure. They look official, but something feels off. They're not like any government agents I've ever seen.
Emily's mind raced. The mysterious visitors, the advanced technology, the connection to her brother's disappearance, it all pointed to something far beyond the realm of ordinary law enforcement.
We can't let them take Fang.
She said firmly.
Whatever's going on here, I have a feeling those men aren't here to help.
Harris nodded in agreement.
But how do we keep them away? We can't exactly hide a glowing, shape-shifting creature in a hospital closet.
As if in response to their dilemma, the holographic display suddenly changed. The map of the South American jungle was replaced by what looked like blueprints, detailed schematics of St. John's Memorial Hospital. Emily gasped, pointing to a section of the blueprint.
There's a network of old maintenance tunnels beneath the hospital. They were sealed off years ago during renovations, but they might still be accessible.
Harris's eyes lit up with understanding.
Daniel, look.
Daniel looked skeptical.
You want to hide in the tunnels? That's insane. We'd be trapped down there.
No.
Emily said, a plan forming in her mind.
Escape. Those tunnels must lead somewhere.
The security chief still seemed uncertain, but Harris was already gathering their meager supplies.
It's our best option, Daniel. We can't fight whoever these people are, and we can't let them get their hands on Fang or this technology.
Daniel sighed heavily, then nodded.
All right. I'll do what I can to slow them down, give you a head start. But you'll need to move fast.
As Daniel left to run interference, Emily gently scooped up the sleeping Fang. The creature stirred, its amber eyes blinking open to regard her with an uncanny intelligence.
It's okay.
She murmured, though whether she was reassuring Fang or herself, she couldn't say.
We're going on a little adventure.
Harris finished packing a bag with supplies and the mysterious device ready. He asked, his voice a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Emily took a deep breath, thinking of her brother, the mysteries that lay ahead, and the impossible creature in her arms. Ready, she replied with one last glance around the room that had been the center of so much wonder and discovery. They slipped out into the dimly lit corridor. Ahead lay the unknown, a labyrinth of forgotten tunnels, the secrets of Fang's origins, and the truth behind Michael Bennett's disappearance. As they made their way towards the hidden entrance, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into something much larger than themselves. Perhaps the story had begun years ago, perhaps even before her brother's ill-fated expedition was coming to a head, and they were now at the center of it all. The maintenance tunnels beneath St. John's Memorial Hospital were a maze of concrete and shadows, the air heavy with the musty scent of disuse. Emily, Harris, and their unusual companion picked their way carefully through the darkness, guided only by the dim light of their cell phones and the occasional emergency bulb that had somehow survived years of neglect. Fang, still in its tiger cub form, padded silently beside them, its amber eyes seeming to glow in the gloom. Every so often, the creature would pause, its ears twitching as if listening to sounds beyond human perception.
It's remarkable,
Harris whispered as they navigated a particularly narrow passage.
Even in this form, Fang's senses seem to be far beyond those of a normal tiger cub. It's as if it's constantly adapting, not just in appearance, but in capability.
Emily nodded, her mind racing with the implications.
Do you think it understands what's happening? Why we're down here?
Before Harris could respond, a distant echo reached their ears, the sound of voices and footsteps, muffled but unmistakable.
They're in the tunnels.
Emily breathed, her heart rate spiking.
How did they find us so quickly?
Harris's face was grim in the dim light.
I suspect our mysterious visitors have resources beyond what we imagined. We need to move faster.
As if understanding the urgency of their situation, Fang let out a soft chirp and darted ahead, pausing at a junction to look back at them expectantly.
I think it wants us to follow.
Emily said, a note of wonder in her voice.
Despite our predicament, with no better option, we'll follow Fang's lead.
They followed Fang, winding deeper into the labyrinth of tunnels. The sounds of pursuit grew fainter, but the tension in the air remained palpable. After what felt like hours but was likely only minutes, they emerged into a larger chamber. Ancient machinery, long since fallen into disrepair, loomed in the shadows, but it was what lay at the center of the room that caught their attention. A circle of strange metallic pillars stood arranged in a perfect circle, each pillar etched with intricate designs that seemed to shift and change in the dim light, defying the eye's attempt to focus on them.
What is this place?
Emily whispered, her voice filled with awe and a touch of fear. Harris approached one of the pillars cautiously, his scientific curiosity overriding his apprehension.
I'm not sure, but these markings, they're like nothing I've ever seen before. They almost look like DNA sequences.
Emily's mind flashed back to the holographic displays they had seen earlier.
But
Impossibly complex Fang padded into the center of the circle.
this is incredible.
As they approached, Fang began to transform once more, but this time the change was far more dramatic. The creature's body seemed to dissolve into pure light, swirling and reforming in a dizzying display of color and motion. When the light faded, Fang stood before them in a form that defied description, Part tiger, part bird, part something entirely alien. Its amber eyes now set in a face that seemed to shift between feline and avian features, regarded them with an intelligence that was unmistakably sentient.
Thank you for your protection, Emily Bennett.
The creature said, its voice a melodious blend of animal sounds and human speech.
But I'm afraid our journey together is only beginning.
Emily and Harris stood frozen, their minds struggling to process what they were witnessing. In that moment, they realized that the mystery of Fang's origins was far more complex and far more extraordinary than they could have ever imagined. As the hum of the pillars grew to a crescendo, bathing the chamber in pulsating light, Emily had the distinct feeling that they were standing on the threshold of something momentous, a discovery that would shake the very foundations of human understanding, and somewhere in the depths of the South American jungle lay the key to unraveling it all. The chamber beneath St. John's Memorial Hospital hummed with energy, the air thick with the promise of revelations. Emily and Dr. Harris stood transfixed, their eyes locked on the extraordinary being before them. Fang, now transformed into a creature beyond their wildest imaginations.
What are you?
Emily managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. Fang's form shimmered slightly as if struggling to maintain its current shape.
I am the result of a project that spans time and space,
It replied, its voice a symphony of otherworldly tones, a bridge between what was, what is, and what could be. Harris, his scientific mind racing to keep up with the implications, stepped forward cautiously.
Are you saying you're not from Earth and—
A sound that might have been laughter rippled through the air.
Not exactly.
Fang said.
I am of Earth, but not only of Earth. My creators sought to combine the genetic legacy of this planet's past with possibilities from elsewhere.
Emily's heart skipped a beat as a wild hope surged through her.
My brother,
She said urgently.
Michael Bennett. Was he involved in your creation?
Fang's amber eyes seemed to soften with something akin to sympathy.
Michael Bennett was a key figure in the early stages of the project. His work on preserving endangered species DNA was the foundation upon which I was built. But he—
Before Fang could finish, the distant sound of voices echoed through the tunnels once more, closer now and tinged with urgency.
They're coming.
Harris said, tension evident in his voice.
We need to move.
Fang nodded, its form rippling once more.
Yes, but not through the tunnels. There is another way, a way your brother discovered.
With that, the creature turned towards the circle of pillars as if responding to an unspoken command. The etchings on their surface began to glow with an intense blue light, the hum in the air growing to a fever pitch, and the space between the pillars seemed to shimmer and distort. A portal. Emily breathed, her mind reeling at the implications.
But where?
Fang replied,
To the place where I was created, and where the answers you seek lie waiting.
The voices were growing closer now, accompanied by the sound of running footsteps. They were out of time. Harris gripped Emily's arm, his face a mask of conflicting emotions.
Emily, we don't know what's on the other side. This could be incredibly dangerous.
She met his gaze, seeing her own mix of fear and determination reflected there.
We don't have a choice, Jonathan. And besides,
She added with a small smile.
aren't you curious?
Before he could respond, Fang let out a warning chirp. The shimmering distortion between the pillars was beginning to stabilize, forming what looked like a window into another world, a lush green jungle bathed in strange purplish light.
Now,
Fang said urgently.
we must go.
Taking a deep breath, Emily stepped forward, Harris at her side. As they approached the portal, she felt a strange tingling sensation wash over her body. The air around them seemed to crackle with energy. Just as they reached the threshold, the door to the chamber burst open. A group of men in dark suits rushed in, their faces a mixture of shock and determination.
Stop.
One of them shouted, reaching for something at his belt. But it was too late. With Fang at their side, Emily and Harris stepped through the portal. The world around them dissolved into a kaleidoscope of light and sensation. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, they were everywhere and nowhere at once. And then, with a rush of hot, humid air, they were through. Emily stumbled, her feet sinking slightly into soft, loamy soil. As her vision cleared, she found herself standing in a clearing surrounded by towering trees unlike any she had ever seen. The air was thick with the scent of unfamiliar flowers and the calls of exotic birds. Beside her, Harris was looking around in wide-eyed wonder.
My God,
He muttered.
where are we?
Fang, now back in its smaller, more ambiguous form, padded forward.
Welcome
It said.
to the place where past and future collide, the birthplace of a new era and evolution.
As they took in their surroundings, Emily's gaze was drawn to a structure in the distance, a sleek, futuristic building that seemed to grow organically from the jungle itself. Etched above its entrance was a name that made her heart skip a beat: the Bennett Institute for Evolutionary Advancement. Her brother's legacy seemed far grander and far more complex than she could have ever imagined. As they set off towards the building, Emily knew that the answers she sought lay within its walls, but she also knew that those answers might change everything. She thought she knew about her brother, about science, and about the very nature of life itself. The jungle air was thick with humidity and the promise of revelations. As Emily, Harris, and Fang approached the imposing structure of the Bennett Institute, the building seemed to defy conventional architecture, its sleek lines and organic curves blending seamlessly with the surrounding foliage. As they drew closer, Emily's heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension.
This place bearing your brother's name holds the key to unraveling the mystery that has consumed you for the past 3 years,
Harris said, his voice tinged with awe.
What truths would you uncover within its walls?
Emily wondered aloud.
It's remarkable.
Harris murmured, his scientific curiosity evident in his voice.
The integration of technology and nature, it's like nothing I've ever seen.
Fang padded silently beside them, seeming to grow more animated as they approached.
This is where it all began,
The creature said.
the place where your brother's vision took root and blossomed into something beyond even his wildest dreams.
As they reached the entrance, a panel beside the door lit up with a soft blue glow. A computerized voice, eerily familiar, filled the air.
Welcome to the Bennett Institute. Please provide biometric identification for entry.
Emily stepped forward, her hand trembling slightly as she placed it on the glowing panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft chime, the door slid open.
Identity confirmed. Emily Bennett, welcome home, sister of the founder.
The voice announced. Tears pricked at Emily's eyes. Even after all this time, Michael had ensured she would have access to his work. It was a bittersweet reminder of the bond they had shared. As they entered the facility, they found themselves in a vast atrium filled with a dizzying array of holographic displays and strange, pulsating plants that seemed to be part organic, part machine.
This is incredible.
Harris said, his eyes darting from one marvel to the next.
The advancements here are decades, maybe centuries, beyond anything in the public sphere.
Fang moved to the center of the room, its form shimmering slightly as it interfaced with the building systems.
Dr. Michael Bennett began with a simple goal, to preserve Earth's vanishing biodiversity, but as his work progressed, he stumbled upon something far greater, a way to not just preserve life, but to evolve it.
Holographic images sprang to life around them, showing the progression of Michael's work, culminating in the creation of creatures like Fang, beings that could adapt and evolve in real time, combining the genetic legacies of countless species.
But why?
Emily asked, her voice thick with emotion.
Why did he disappear? Why keep all of this secret?
Fang's amber eyes met hers, filled with a depth of understanding that seemed impossibly ancient.
Because,
It replied,
he realized the magnitude of what he had discovered. The power to reshape life itself in the wrong hands could be catastrophic.
a new hologram appeared, showing Michael in his lab, looking older and more careworn than Emily remembered. His recorded voice filled the atrium.
If you're seeing this, Emily, it means you've finally found your way here. I'm sorry for the secrecy, for the pain I must have caused you. But what we've created here is bigger than any one person. It's the next step in evolution, a way to ensure life's survival in a changing universe.
Emily reached out to touch the image of her brother, her fingers passing through the hologram.
Oh, Michael,
She whispered.
what have you done?
As if in response to her question, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Fang's form tensed, its eyes darting towards the entrance.
They follow us,
The creature said urgently.
the ones who seek to control this power for their own ends.
Harris rushed to a nearby console, his fingers flying over the holographic interface.
It looks like they've breached the outer perimeter. We don't have much time.
Emily's mind raced.
They've come so far, discovered so much, but now it all seems on the verge of slipping away. What do we do?
She asked, looking between Harris and Fang.
Ready to face whatever challenges this brave new world might throw at us,
James replied, a mixture of pride and anticipation in his eyes.
We go to the Amazon. We protect the balance. We ensure that evolution remains a force for harmony, not destruction.
As they prepared for their next adventure, Emily realized that their activation of the Codex had not been an end, but a beginning. They were now guardians of a new era in Earth's history, tasked with guiding the intricate dance of life itself. The future, with all its wonders and perils, awaited. The journey to the new Bennett Institute was a revelation in itself. As they traveled through the transformed Houston landscape, Emily marveled at the seamless integration of nature and technology. Buildings seemed to breathe their surfaces, covered in living, air-purifying plants. Vehicles glided silently on roads that shimmered with embedded solar cells.
It's incredible,
She murmured, watching a flock of birds that seemed to glow with bioluminescent patterns. All of this was from the dispersal of the Codex. Michael nodded, a hint of pride in his voice.
The Codex contained more than just genetic information. It held the key to understanding the deep interconnectedness of all life. Once that knowledge began to seep into various fields of study, the advancements came rapidly.
As they approached the outskirts of the city, the urban landscape gave way to a lush, managed wilderness. In the distance, a structure rose from the trees, a breathtaking fusion of organic architecture and advanced technology.
Welcome,
Michael said with a sweeping gesture to the new Bennett Institute for Evolutionary Harmony. The building seemed to grow from the earth itself, its walls a living membrane that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. As they entered, Emily and Harris gasped in awe. The interior was a vast open space filled with holographic displays, strange hybridized plants, and scientists of all species working side by side.
Is that a dolphin?
Harris asked incredulously, pointing to a large aquarium where a station wearing some kind of neural interface appeared to be in deep discussion with a human researcher.
Ambassador Coral.
Michael confirmed.
She's one of our leading experts on marine ecosystem restoration.
As they toured the facility, the true scope of the changes wrought by the Codex became clear. Entire wings were dedicated to interspecies communication, adaptive agriculture capable of thriving in rapidly changing climates, and medical advancements that bordered on the miraculous.
This is all incredible.
Emily said, her head spinning with the implications.
But there must be challenges too.
You mentioned there are still those who would misuse this power.
Michael replied, his expression growing serious.
Indeed, while the dispersal of the Codex has led to great advancements, it has also created new forms of conflict. There are those who believe that humanity should control the course of evolution, shaping other species to our will, and others who fear the changes seeking to reverse the effects of the Codex entirely.
Fang, who had been quietly observing, spoke up.
What can we do?
She asked, looking to Michael.
We need to protect the balance, ensure that evolution remains a force for harmony, not destruction.
Michael led them to a secure room at the heart of the Institute. Inside, a familiar device pulsed with otherworldly energy, a smaller version of the original evolutionary codex.
This is the Nexus,
He explained.
It allows us to monitor the ongoing effects of the Codex's dispersal and, when necessary, make subtle adjustments to keep the balance.
Harris's eyes lit up with scientific curiosity.
So you mean we can actually guide the course of evolution on a global scale within limits?
Michael cautioned,
The goal is harmony, not control. We work to ensure that all life has the chance to adapt and thrive in the face of rapid change.
As Emily approached the Nexus, she felt a strange resonance, as if the device recognized her. Images flashed through her mind, ecosystems in flux, species adapting in real time, the intricate web of life pulsing with newfound vitality.
It's beautiful.
She breathed,
And terrifying.
she added. Fang moved to her side, its form shimmering with barely contained energy.
This is the legacy of your choice, Emily Bennett, a world where the boundaries between species, between past and future, have become fluid, a world of endless possibility.
As the weight of their responsibility settled over them, a sudden alarm blared through the Institute. Michael rushed to a nearby console, his face grim.
We have a problem.
He announced.
A rogue faction has gained access to fragments of the Codex. They're attempting to create a localized evolutionary surge in the Amazon rainforest.
Emily exchanged determined glances with Harris and Fang. Their incredible journey had led them to this moment, a chance to shape the future of life itself.
What's our move?
She asked.
Ready to face whatever challenges this brave new world might throw at us.
Michael replied, a mixture of pride and anticipation in his eyes.
We go to the Amazon. We protect the balance. We ensure that evolution remains a force for harmony, not destruction.
As they prepared for their next adventure, Emily realized that their activation of the Codex had not been an end, but a beginning. They were now guardians of a new era in Earth's history, tasked with guiding the intricate dance of life itself. The future, with all its wonders and perils, awaited. The Amazon rainforest had always been a place of wonder, but as Emily, Harris, Michael, and Fang emerged from their transport into the lush undergrowth, they found themselves in a landscape that defied imagination. Massive trees towered overhead, their trunks pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. Strange hybridized creatures flitted through the canopy, their forms a mesmerizing blend of mammal, bird, and insect. The evolutionary surge, Harris breathed, his scientific mind racing to categorize the marvels around them.
It's already begun.
Michael nodded grimly.
Consulting a holographic display projected from his wrist device, the rogue faction has established a base near the heart of the forest. They're using a makeshift version of the Codex to accelerate evolution in a small area, with no regard for the broader ecosystem.
Fang, its form shimmering and adapting to the strange environment, spoke up.
Such reckless manipulation of life's code could have catastrophic consequences far beyond the forest.
Emily felt a surge of determination.
This is why we came to protect the delicate balance, to ensure that the power of the Codex is used responsibly. What's our plan?
She asked.
Ready for action.
Michael outlined their strategy.
As we move deeper into the forest, we will approach the rogue base under cover of the dense foliage, using Fang's adaptive abilities to camouflage our presence. Once there, we need to neutralize the makeshift Codex and contain the evolutionary surge before it spreads beyond control.
As they trekked through the transformed rainforest, Emily marveled at the rapid changes taking place around them. Plants seemed to grow and evolve before their eyes, their leaves shifting colors and patterns to adapt to the changing light. Creatures unlike anything she had ever seen darted through the underbrush, their forms a dizzying blend of familiar and alien.
It's beautiful,
she murmured, reaching out to touch a flower that seemed to sing a soft melody as it bloomed, but also terrifying.
How can we possibly control this?
Jonathan, who had been taking readings on the advanced handheld device, shook his head in wonder.
The rate of change is exponential. If we don't contain this soon, the effects could ripple out across the entire planet.
As they neared the location of the rogue base, Fang suddenly tensed its form, rippling with barely contained energy.
We're not alone,
It warned, its voice a low growl. From the shadows of the forest emerged a group of figures, humans but changed. Their bodies showed signs of accelerated evolution, with heightened senses and enhanced physical abilities. At their center stood a woman with piercing green eyes and skin that seemed to shimmer with chlorophyll.
Welcome, Bennett.
She said, her voice carrying another worldly resonance.
We've been expecting you.
Michael stepped forward, his face a mask of determination.
Dr. Elena Petrova, I presume your experiments here are dangerous. You're risking the entire planet's ecosystem.
Elena smiled, a predatory glint in her eye.
Risking. We're ushering in the next stage of evolution. Humanity will no longer be bound by the slow crawl of natural selection. We will become gods, shaping life itself to our will.
That's not how it works.
Emily interjected, her voice firm.
Evolution isn't about control or dominance. It's about balance, about finding harmony within the greater web of life.
Elena's gaze shifted to Emily, a look of curiosity crossing her features.
Ah, the younger Bennett, the one who activated the original codex. Tell me, don't you feel the power? The potential to remake the world as we see fit?
For a moment, Emily felt the pull of that temptation, the ability to shape life to solve the world's problems with a wave of her hand. But then she thought of Fang, of the wonders they had seen, of the delicate balance that held the world together.
Power without wisdom is nothing but destruction,
She said firmly.
What you're doing here isn't evolution. It's chaos.
Elena's expression hardened.
Then you leave us no choice. We will not allow you to stop the next step in human ascension.
With a gesture from Elena, her evolved followers surged forward. The forest around them seemed to come alive, plants and animals responding to the heightened emotions and surging evolutionary energies. What followed was a battle unlike any in history, not fought with weapons, but with the very forces of life itself. Fang shape-shifted rapidly, countering the enhanced abilities of Elena's followers. Harris used his scientific knowledge to predict and counter the surges of evolutionary energy. Michael tapped into the deeper wisdom of the Codex, working to stabilize the chaotic changes rippling through the forest. Emily found herself at the heart of it all as she dodged grasping vines and leapt over rapidly evolving terrain. She felt a deep connection to the pulsing life force around her. In that moment, she understood that her role was not to control evolution, but to guide it, to be a bridge between the old world and the new. With a burst of inspiration, she reached out to the makeshift codex at the center of Elena's base. Instead of trying to shut it down, she sought to harmonize with it, to channel its power into a more balanced form of accelerated evolution. The effect was immediate and breathtaking. The chaotic surges of energy began to stabilize. Plants and animals that had been warped by uncontrolled evolution began to find new, sustainable forms. Even Elena and her followers felt the change, their enhanced bodies settling into a more harmonious state. As the dust settled, Elena stared at Emily with a mixture of awe and defeat.
How did you do that?
Emily smiled, feeling the pulse of life flowing through her by remembering that we're not meant to control evolution. We're part of it.
The Codex isn't a tool for domination. It's a key to understanding our place in the great dance of life.
In the aftermath of the battle, as they worked to stabilize the effect area and integrate the changes into the broader ecosystem, Emily realized that their journey was far from over. The activation of the Codex had set in motion changes that would ripple across time and space for generations to come. But now, with the wisdom they had gained and the bonds they had forged, they were ready to face those challenges as guardians of evolution. They would work to ensure that the incredible power of life itself would be used not for domination, but for harmony. As the sun set over the transformed Amazon, painting the sky in colors never before seen on Earth, Emily looked at her companions, her brother Michael, the brilliant Dr. Harris, and the enigmatic Fang, and even the now humbled Elena. She knew that together they would guide humanity and all life on Earth into a future of endless possibility and wonder. The journey that had begun with a mysterious tiger entering a Houston hospital had led them to become the shepherds of a new era in Earth's history, an era where the boundaries between species, between past and future, had become fluid. An era of challenges, of wonders, and of hope. As they prepared to return to the Bennett Institute, Emily felt a deep sense of purpose. The adventure was not ending, it was only beginning, and she was ready to face whatever marvels and perils the evolved world might bring.